there is a confluence that occurs between so many elements at this time of year. I want to just share a few of those confluent elements that come together. The first one is the overall nature of teshuvah, which means to return. The Piasetzner Rebbe, Kalonymus Kalman Shapiro, the holy, holy chief rabbi of the Warsaw Ghetto, asks us to return to what we were meant to be. Return to what you were meant to be. He's asking us to return to the future. Not just to look in the past. When we drive a car, we look in the rearview mirror as a place of orientation, but not to go back there. Just to let it orient us to where we're going. Do your teshuvah to be what you're meant to be. Another incredible Rebbe named the Kutzker Rebbe was commenting on the verse, "For the distance of east to west, our sins have distanced us from the Holy One. Kirochok mizrach, mima'arav hirchik, mimenu et peshaenu." For the distance from east to west have our sins distanced us from God. And yet the Kutzker says, what's the distance between east and what's the distance between east and west? One turn. Just turn around. And you've completely shrunk that distance. He also taught us the second element of the confluence is the nature of suffering. He says this amazing line, this amazing teaching, Ein davar shalem yoter malev shavur. There is nothing more whole than a broken heart. How could he say that? Does it mean you're happy when you have a broken heart? Of course not. There's nothing more whole, shalem, than a broken heart. Because when our hearts are broken, and our hearts have been broken, maybe our hearts are broken now, maybe our hearts will be broken, inevitably suffering is part of this journey that we're on, and the only way to reconcile that suffering with our connection to the divine without becoming totally, how could God let this happen, is to say there's an opportunity in this for me. So I know what I'm suffering with. I have to work on this to say, it's my teacher. This illness is my teacher. What is your teacher? What element of suffering do you have that is your guide, is your teacher? Not that you're happy to have it, right? But that it becomes your teacher. So whether it's, Ayala, Yuval moving to Israel, making Aliyah, and you have to be with that, or all of us, each of us in our own way, whatever we're going through, a loss of a relationship, a loss of some level of security financially, whatever that loss is, it's making us suffer becomes an opportunity. And so our memory and charity, our tzedakah, on behalf of the many thousands of lives lost recently in Maui and Morocco and Libya, become our collective suffering, our attunement, our atonement. What's happening with the climate, the suffering of the earth itself becomes our opportunity to tune in, to be this attuning force, and that is our atonement.
Maybe so.
Ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. So last year, some yeshiva students from Chabad came to my front door just before Rosh Hashanah. And there's a saying in the Hasidic world, Hamelach Bisadeh. The king is in the field. The king is in the field. So these young guys, they're maybe 16 or 17 years old, they looked at me and they said, "Did you know the king is in the field?" I said, "Yes, I know. I know. And the queen is there too. And not just the king is in the field, but the king is in the field. The field, Sadeh, is where the kingship is, where the majesty is." And I'm telling you, they gave a big smile, Like, I don't know if it's, let me get out of here, or... But that was the lesson. I needed to be reminded by them that the king was in the field, and they needed to be reminded by me that the king is in the field, not just upon the field. So the third element that I want to share in this confluence is the high holidays happen by themselves. Judaism is simply the structure for which we access the voice of God speaking to each of us through nature. Amen. I noticed there's this thing in social media these days. It says, to those who celebrate, may you have a happy new year. And I want to say, I don't go into this to those who celebrate. Actually, everybody is celebrating the new year. Doesn't mean Jewishly, it just means what's happening inside of nature is one of those streams that's connecting to the stream of what I'm going through. And it's not that I'm leading nature, nature leads me. So the stream that's going forth is the stream of autumn, the stream of the fall, and as everything pulls in, then I pull in, we each pull in. So New Year is happening. So we don't need to open up our phrases to those who celebrate. It's just Shana Tova. May it be a wonderful year for everybody.
Amen.
A wonderful year for everybody.
May it be so.
A couple of more thoughts. So I don't know if Jay Golden is here, if your beautiful, beautiful husband. If not, I'm talking behind his back. So I saw something he posted that just got me off on this tangent in my studies this last couple of weeks. He's talking about the biological relationship between dopamine and cortisol and oxytocin, these neurotransmitters. And he says something like this: the dopamine sparks our curiosity, these feel-good, motivating hormones that we release, the source of pleasure. And Jay says it sparks our curiosity. The cortisol reduces stress, and the voice of the cortisol, it goes something like this. He says, gosh, I really want to know what's going to happen. Can you save me? You know, we want to be sure before we go too far with anything, right? And the oxytocin is the release. The oxytocin, Jay says, the release, the connectivity, the possibility, the recognition that we too, even if our stories are different, can make our way through. So I bless everybody. May your neurotransmitters light up. So I got so off on this, I tell you, Ari, that for days I was studying neurotransmitters, you know. I met with my doctor this morning, and I felt like talking about neurotransmission, you know. Prayer can affect neurotransmitters in the brain, which are the chemicals that communicate to the nerves and affect how we view the world. Prayer can release the neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, which can make people feel happier and healthier. So I want to tell you, we're all getting a big gift today.
Amen.
Music releases these dopamines.
Amen.
Right? Prayer releases these dopamines. Dance releases these dopamines. Shuckling releases these dopamines. May all our dopamines light us up in a healthy inner fire today.
Amen.
Now, I don't know if you follow tennis, but I was listening to Coco Gauff, who won the U.S. Open, and she said something really amazing. So sophisticated, this beautiful, beautiful 19-year-old soul. She says, before every match since I was 8 years old, my dad and I say a prayer together. We don't really pray about victory, just that me and my opponent stay safe. After the match today, when she won the US Open, I was just thanking God for this opportunity. I don't pray for results. I just ask for the strength to give it my all. And after winning the US Open, she said, it means so much to me through my tribulations and trials, that these trials and tribulations makes this moment even sweeter than I can imagine. Man, she does not have to come to services. And finally, I'm going to her service, right? The synagogue of the tennis court. Finally, forgiveness. So forgiveness can be beneficial to your brain. People who are able to forgive produce more dopamine, a chemical associated with mood elevation. Forgiveness can improve your mood and make you more optimistic over the long run. Don't raise your hand if you don't want to, but does anybody have somebody to forgive? Raise your hand if you don't want to raise your hand. So it's the rest of you. Please, that's the work we're doing, to forgive. Forgiveness is not forgetting. We don't say forgive and forget. Rather, we say we take the pain of being hurt and we transform it through mitzvot of every kind. Take the guilt that arises from hurting others and transform it into the courage to make amends. To make amends. And somebody said, I looked for the source of this. I couldn't find the source, but it's beautiful. Forgiveness, listen to this. It's the aroma the violet leaves upon the heel that has crushed it. Forgiveness is the aroma that the violet leaves upon the heel that is crushed. Now, this is aspirational, because if you've been crushed by a heel, it's just easy to say, this is my aroma, and I forgive you. But at least I can aspire to try to find that forgiveness in my life for those that have hurt me. So, Shana Tova, everybody.
Shana Tova.